channel. My name is Owen Jenkins. I just moved my speaker to like right here. It's just out of the camera frame. And I'm gonna see if the sound is any better. If it is, please tell me. I hope it is. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I'm so excited. I don't know about you guys, but if you have some awesome traditions, those are like the best things to do during Christmas. So don't stick around here too much. Go hang out with your family. Let's make a quick Christmas render. Let's get straight to it. Scene open here. Gonna put the festives on for the sake of Christmas. Hope you enjoy. Merry Christmas again. First thing we're gonna do, delete the default cube. What we're gonna do instead, we're gonna have a plane and we're gonna make a nice background. So tab into edit mode and scale that up just a bit. 2, where you can come up here and click that to go into edge select mode, and then hit E, Z to extrude upward. And then we're going to just hit Control B. And when you pull that out with your mouse, you can scroll. If you scroll on your scroll wheel, then you make that bevel nice and rounded, like a fillet. And then, still in edge mode, you can select that border with Shift Alt, and then select with your left mouse. And that will give you that, and I will extrude that. Hit Shift Z so that you don't move on the Z axis. And once you've moved it out a little bit, click to place it. And then R for rotate and Z to rotate, just so we can get this kind of wrapping around look. I'm going to move it forward just a bit. And then I'm going to cut this in half with an edge loop, which is Control R. And then once I've got that in there, then I'm going to hit 0 so it's perfectly centered. And then I'm going to hit 3, Shift Alt, and then click X, delete faces. So now we've got half of our environment section. I'm going to add a modifier. Over here in the modifier tab, it's the wrench. Come on down here, find mirror. If you click mirror, then you can select the axes in which it's not. Just click through them. If you, like yours may be X, mine is just because of the orientation I selected. And boom, you now have a nice wraparound environment. I'm also going to select this edge right here, Shift Alt click, and then Control B to bevel again, just to get those edges nice and rounded. Once we have that, tab out of edit mode, right click and shade smooth. Now I've got this, actually might just kind of scale that on the X axis or the Y axis depending on whichever way you oriented it, and just move it forward so I have a lot more space for the objects to be. So you may be thinking, what are we doing in this Christmas render? So I just wanted a nice clean background. I'm using the software PureRef, and I pulled together some images that I think are great, that inspire me, and I think would be a fun style. Definitely pull a lot from Peter Tarka. I don't know if you've seen his artwork, but it is very snazzy. Very modern, minimalist type artwork, but a little bit of an abstract touch to it all. And then I found some Christmas artwork that kind of matched some of these themes as well. I kind of selected some of my favorites though. I'm going to use these as my main inspiration. I'm thinking I'm going to move forward with a darker red, kind of like this Christmas hat, and I'm going to kind of use that as my base dominant color in the image, and then I'm going to add white trees. I want it to be well lit like this image here, and then I want to kind of take the idea of using the lit up spheres on the tree. I think that looks really good. And then kind of like a mixture of all of these, just like having objects scattered around the scene. And then despite us having like our smooth like background piece, I like having these kind of like pedestal pieces like these, and so we're going to put one of those in there as well. If we come back to our scene in Blender, let's make a pedestal for everything to sit on. So I'm going to hit Shift A, and then I'm going to select cylinder, and I'm going to scale it with S and then Shift Z so that it only scales on the X and Y axes. And once I've got it kind of to where, I'm going to scale it, Shift Z, and then I'm going to scale it on the Z axis to make it shorter. Then we're going to tab into edit mode. No, actually, let's do it all procedural. Let's add a bevel modifier. Oh. So if you look at that, wrong button. When you add the bevel modifier, you can tell it's not actually like doing it at the right angle, and that's because once you've scaled something in object mode, then you have to hit Control A with the object selected and apply the scale, and then you'll see that the bevel is actually happening the correct method. And right click and shade that smooth as well, just to make it look good. And then we can decide like how much of that we actually want it to be. I'm going to hold Shift and kind of just drag it tighter like that. Maybe add a couple of segments just to smooth it out. Alrighty, yeah, that looks good. I'm going to add a subsurface modifier to that as well. Just modifier subsurface. This adds subdivisions to make it smoother, as well as you can see we have this basic geometry here. But if I remove optimal display and come to wireframe mode, you can see it's definitely more dense there. So now I've got that. I think this is like a little bit too far back on the background, so I'm going to move it forward a bit, and then I'm going to hit kind of like position it a little bit in the view with the background. And I'm going to hit Control Alt 0, and that will pull your camera to the view you're looking at. And I'm going to come in. If this isn't here, click N, and it will show up. And then click on View and go to Camera to View. And you will see that now, wherever I move, my camera follows my viewport. Okay, that is what I want. Next, I really like for this image, I'm thinking of vertical, kind of like 3 by 4. So I'm just going to do like next I want 3, and then tall by 4. Oh, no, X needs to be 3. Apparently you can't put 3 in there. Well, we can also get it by doing 4,000 and 6,000 here. And I'm actually just going to make that 5,000, and I'm just going to divide those by 2 to get average high quality image. And I'm just going to line this up with the view. Yeah, that looks good right there. Remember, I'm using my camera to view so that my camera is lining everything up. I'm going to increase my subdivision just so that it's all there. Okay, I think that's where I want the camera, so I'm going to uncheck camera to view, so now when I move around it, it leaves the camera where it's supposed to be. And now we have our correct camera aspect ratio that we want, but I do think I want my focal length to be different, because we want the image to be more compressed, you have a little bit less perspective, and it kind of emphasizes this look that we've got here. So if we come back to our scene, we will see if we click on our camera in the outliner, come down here and click on the camera settings, and this panel right there, little camera, you can change your focal length. Now, like if you're in this view, you can see the camera is definitely lengthening and shortening, which represents camera length. And then if we come into the camera view by hitting 0 on the number pad, and then adjusting the focal length to 100, and then camera to view will reframe that. You can tell it's a little bit more squished, and I think that's kind of what I'm going for. I like that a lot. Okay, well let's start adding some things to our scene. If we come up here and click on that third sphere, we'll go into Material View, and we can come over here and add a new material. Let's just click on the base color and add that bright red. And I'm going to click on my background, and then click this little sphere next to the new. Don't click New. Click the sphere next to it, and then click on Material 1. And I'm going to rename it to Red Base. Sounds good. I'm going to rename my plane as well to BG for background. It's an easy way to remember. I'm going to call my cylinder pedestal. Okay, let's organize a couple of things before we move forward. Let's call this collection scene, and let's call this lights and camera. Okay, there we go. Then we can take our background and drag it into scene, as well as our pedestal. And you'll notice now we have control over what stays in the scene and what doesn't. We can get rid of our camera and our light, or we can get rid of. Just gives you a little bit more control, as well as keeps your scene organized. So next stage. What do we want to put on here? I know I want some trees, so let's look at our trees here. Looks like there's standard cones, and I think I'm going to stick with that. We've got some different styles, like more sharp cones that are all different scales. Like this one's taller, this one's more just like medium normal, and then that one's like the bottom is scaled out. I think I'm going to kind of pull from this tree. So back in our scene, let's just shift A, add in a cone. Wow, look at that. And you may notice, if I click G and just move it around, that if I added a bevel modifier to this, that it would only control the bottom. And you'd be like, well, why is that? Shouldn't it round the top as well? Well, the top is only one vertex, which can be problematic. And in this situation, we don't want that. We're actually going to delete the cone, and we're going to add a cylinder. Wow. We're using cylinders a lot. Tab into edit mode with the cylinder, click 3 on your keyboard or up here, right there, and then scale that right there, just to, kind of make a cone. Tab out of edit mode, and kablam, they have a cone. But if we add the bevel modifier now, look at that. It's affecting the top, which is exactly what we want. I'm actually going to leave that at the default bevel there, and I'm just going to increase this to 45 and then add some segments so that it's more round. I think that looks pretty good. So I'm going to right click, shade that smooth, add a subdivision surface just to smooth things out. This is the base of our tree. GZ to move that up, and then tab into edit mode. I'm going to select all. I'm going to click Shift D on my keyboard and then Z, and you'll see I can duplicate my cone. Now, on the trees though, if you notice, like a lot of these trees, as well as if you looked at real trees, the top kind of gets skinny, right? So your cone needs to get skinnier. So we're going to scale, and maybe scale Shift Z as well, just to make it a bit thinner as well. I'm just going to pull it down, just kind of pushing and pulling vertices a little bit. And I think I want 2 or 3 trees on this, and one I want to have only 2, and one I want to have like 3 levels, or 2 that have 3 levels, just at different heights, and then one that only has 2 levels. So let's just Shift D in object mode. Oh, actually, Control Z. We're going to make the base. Easy way to make the base. 3, or up here in face select mode. Select the bottom, hit I, and that will inset your face. And you can just kind of find the tree trunk width that you want. And then just hit E, and wow, look at that. Now you've got your trunk. So I'm just going to kind of pull it down. Doesn't matter how long it is, most of it's going to be below our base here, so yeah. Alrighty, I'm just going to move that so that it kind of fits in there. And I'm going to scale this down. Alrighty. So now if we move that forward, we can hit Shift D to duplicate, and then Shift Z to keep it from moving on the Z axis. And then I'm just going to hit Tab, select one of those faces, and then hit Control L. Now Control L selects all of the connected vertices, and since this is still separate, it has a separate cone. Now we can hit Shift D to duplicate that, and oh, look at that. Nice. Kind of liking the look of that. Yeah, if your scene gets slow, turn off these. These are like little visual. You'll notice, like right here, how you'll notice the detail goes down when I turn that off. So in the viewport, you turn that off. This little screen means viewport, and so that just saves you some memory, so that when you're working in your scene, you have a little bit more freedom as well as some blender. I'm going to scale this tree up. I want that to be a big tree. And then duplicate that forward, just give it a nice little scale. GZ, scale it up, and then just, let's make it more of a squat tree. Now let's leave that one like that. Let's make this guy the squat tree. Yeah, I like that. Then we'll pull these ones around. We get a nice little arrangement. Alrighty, so we've got our trees. Let's see how it looks in our view. So I'm going to select all these and just kind of rotate them until I get my, like that. Leave some space up here for more objects. Next stage in our render will be to add ornaments and objects that kind of just like floating around, kind of like we were seeing here in this image. If we zoom in on that, you can see like got some just different types of ornaments. And I don't know if I couldn't find a picture of the ornaments that are thin wires that kind of like all spiral together. I think those look really cool. So we're gonna try and make one of those real quick out of a sphere. So I'm just gonna hit Shift A, Mesh, and UV Sphere. And then before you click anywhere, come down here in this bottom left corner and change those segments to 16, the second level to 8. That'll just make our sphere a little bit more low res. And here in edit mode, move that up, and then back in edit mode. How are we gonna make spiral objects with square faces? It's kind of hard, huh? So there's a little trick you can learn. Here, if you come into face, there's this button, poke faces. Click it, and blam, we've got diagonal lines now, which is awesome. It's exactly what we need. Then we're going to hit A to select everything, and then we're going to, then you come up to face, and then tries to quads, because you'll notice like everything is now triangle, because it basically just cut each face into triangles. Come to face, and then tries to quads, and then bang, now we've only got our diagonal lines. It was simpler than I thought. Let's see if this works. This might just delete the whole thing. X edges. No, look at that. That is exactly what we wanted. And then A, we're going to select everything else, and then you click X, and then delete only faces, and that'll leave you with your wireframe. Maybe you're thinking, well, when I render it, I won't be able to see anything because there's no actual faces. Well, if we add a modifier and click on skin, and then don't worry, it looks scary right now. Have an edit mode, then hit Control A. After you select everything, Control A, and then it will scale everything down. And look at how cool that looks. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? Heck yeah. This is amazing. Sweet. And then if we add a subdivision surface, you can get those nice kind of curved edges. We should put that before the skin. Let's activate smooth shading for that. Alright, so now we've got our cool decoration. So let's find a spot to put it. Use Shift Z to move it over here, and it's massive. So let's scale it down. I don't know, maybe you like it big. Do what you want. This is creative realm of freedom here in Blender. You're not limited to anything in this program except for your imagination. I'm going to go to my camera view so I can kind of decide how I want this placed. And yeah, I do think I want it kind of offset like that. Then I'm going to add another sphere. And we're going to make it 32 and 16 so it's back to normal. Shade smooth, make sure everything's shaded smoothly. I'm just going to add a loop cut in each of these. I'm going to actually add 4. That's Control R again, just in case you forgot. Just scroll to get different amounts of loop cuts, and what that does is it gets rid of those lines on the geometry. Add 4, enter 4, Control R. Those trees are looking a bit better now. Control R4, Control R4. Alright, now all those trees are smooth. Anyways, let's bring this sphere up here, scale it down, move it up. Alrighty, so now if we are looking at this from our camera view, I think I want one more thing over here. I'm trying to decide what I want. Could make a snowflake, we could make like a little star, or I'm thinking a diamond. Let's see what we can do. So if you hit Shift A, then down here there is a diamonds, and what it is if you come over into your edit preferences, then there's this little tab called add-ons, and in here there's just tons of goodies. And if you do, then in the add mesh extra objects, I check it, and I close it, and when we're in our scene, we can come in here and we can add like a brilliant diamond. The brilliant diamond looks, I think, the best compared to the rest of the diamonds. Rotate that, and scale it. That's going to look cool. I'm just going to be placing these. Just find like a nice spot for them to sit. That's too big. Let's make it smaller. I don't know, that looks right about there. Yeah, that looks great. Okay, now we have a bunch of these objects, and they have no color. Like, I want the trees to stay white. I'm liking that look. So what we're going to do is we're going to select our cool ornament. We're going to come over here and click New. And we're just going to drag this metallic slider up. By the way, I'm in the Materials tab. It's this little red circle. If we zoom in on it, oh look, now it's metal. That's a little bit rough, so we're going to pull the roughness down. And I'm thinking of a gold. Like a gold looks nice right there, the base color. Yeah, that looks super cool. Alrighty. Next object. I'm thinking this sphere should resemble one of these, like kind of, I'm thinking about maybe doing that texture. Maybe this one, kind of like in this circular waves vibe right there. So let's do that. So we're going to come up here and click on shading, and this gives us access right here to our material editor. Now I don't like this format, so I like to just drag from the corner over in each workspace and it expands them. And I'm actually going to get rid of it and then re-add it. So if you drag from that corner as well, you can get new spaces. I'm going to add a shader. I just like the side-to-side view. I think it looks better. But you can stick with the original interface if you'd like. Just less hassle for you if you're more of a beginner. We want to make these lines procedurally. So that's what we do here. So we would need a texture that would drive those two different materials. So we're going to add a texture, and we would use the wave texture. Now if we just look at this, then you'll see, wow, look at that, we have lines, but they're not sharp. They're just very, like, no matter what you do, you can make them wiggly, you can make them thicker or less. You probably want around like 2, maybe, no, probably 3. Yeah, that looks good. And yeah, like your detail scale, and like you just sit there, how much is changing? Oh look, there goes the offset, but it's still not changing. Like, you can get different things with it. Maybe we'll stick with diagonal. That looks cool. Lines up with our idea and our screen. Yep, let's stick with diagonal. Alright, so we're going to add in a converter color ramp. I'm also hitting Shift A here, just like you do in the object mode and modeling area. I'm just going to plug that. We're not going to plug it in yet, because we're going to do a nice little trick. So what I'm doing here is I'm just looking at it. You can hit Control-Shift-click on it, and to enable that, then in your Edit Preferences, there is another add-on called Node Wrangler. I think it should come activated when you install Blender, but if it's not, come in here and click it. It's super helpful. Probably the most used add-on in Blender to this date. But what this allows us to do is if we come here and click Linear Constant, and drag that out, we can see now we have hard lines, and that's exactly what we want. So we're going to bring this principle into the surface like it was. Yours may not have already disconnected. And Shift A, Shader, Mix Shader. This is going to allow us to blend 2 of these. So I'm going to Shift D, I'm going to bring this one up a little bit and just plug it into that bottom shader. And this one, we're going to make metallic, and we're going to give it that gold color. And you're going to look at it and you're like, well, that didn't work, it's not blending. Like, it looks kind of cool, but not what I wanted. You just take this from the color ramp and put it to the factor, and voila, now you have a pretty cool repeating pattern. And if we just adjust our scale, we can get different ideas. And as well with the Node Wrangler, you can hit Control-T when you've clicked on a texture, and we'll add these mapping nodes that give us a little bit more control. We're going to take the object and move it into the vector, which will give us a better look with those lines instead of those jagged, unusual shapes. Now we can kind of scale these. Maybe we will just go back to the standard X sine wave, and then we're just going to scale these on the x-axis, because it's the x-axis, right? Thinking I'll just do it like that. And these edges are a bit sharp, but we're just going to run with it. I'm just going to pull that scale down, holding Shift to move more accurately. just rotate it on the z-axis, then rotate it on the screen, rotate it on the z-axis. Alrighty, that looked good. Now let's add our diamond texture. So we're going to hit New, create principled here. We're going to pull up transmission. Transmission just means that the light passes through it. Different from transparent, and we don't want it to be rough because that's not how diamonds are. Diamonds are shiny. And then we're going to do this and turn our index of refraction to 2.8. And later I'll show you what that does. But this should look pretty good. Alrighty. I've got a couple of those items that look good. Let's add our cool glowing lights. You can see we've got these cool spheres and they've kind of got that border of color. We're going to add those in right now. What do you think we're going to do? Shift A, sphere. Wow. Just scale it down. Bring it up so you can see it. Kind of just right click shade smooth. Scale it down a bit more. I'm just going to kind of place it right here because I think there's a couple on the ground that could look cool. Now we're going to do a new. We're going to select this principle and click X to delete it. Wow, we got rid of it, now it's black. Alright, instead we're going to add a shader, a Shift A, shader, emission, and then plug that emission into the surface. And now, if we turn that up to 10, we've got an emissive, but we still don't have that cool like edge. So this little trick that I learned from Ducky3D, great YouTube channel, go follow him. He does amazing Blender content. I'd add a input node and a layer weight. Put the Fresnel into that, and you'll notice you get like this funny blend. And if we take advantage of that, I'm just going to Control Z until I get back to where the original setting was. Shift A, add a converter with color ramp in between there, and ooh, now we can control our colors and our, and I want the darker to be kind of on the outside. I'm going to leave these here where they are, and then I'm going to change the blend. So first what we should do is come up here and just add the color we want. I'm thinking like that red hue looks nice. Cycles, because that's the render engine, so I can see the light a little bit better. Let's change that to like 100 because the lighting's not so great right now, but don't worry. So the red's in the middle, we want the red on the outside. We're just going to kind of like, what happens if we kind of pull that in and then we adjust this. Oh, I know, I'm going to change this to ease as well, and then it makes just like a softer edge to yeah, there we go. Much better. Let's just change that to 8.2 and see if that does anything better. Alrighty. Let's just see what that looks like brighter. Yeah, just blown out. 100. Yeah, we want that bright light. There's the facing, but we want it kind of soft. Blend there. And we're just gonna pull it out. We just want that to be nice. You can try different colors. You're not stuck to red. Maybe blue looks good. But I think in my case, I'm going to stick with the red. And I'm going to stick with the strength of like 250. If you turn on denoising, your scene will get substantially better and easier to view. Have this. How are we going to put it on our trees? There's two ways of doing it. There's geometry nodes, which is a recent feature of Blender, and particles. I'm just going to use particles today because geometry nodes is a fairly new feature and I'm still learning it. And so, despite me having learned a little bit, I would rather wait and give you a more comprehensive tutorial of those, specifically in a different place. So let's select this tree here. Come over to this little tab with these little 3 buttons. That means particles. We're going to click on hair in advanced, and then in render, we'll change render's path to collection. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate that light. We're going to scale it down just to make it a different size. And we're going to come up here and duplicate that material so that we don't edit the other one. And now we can make a different color of light. Alright, so now we got these cool looking lights. I'm going to kind of just pull that in front just to give a more dynamic look. Now we're going to take these trees that we began selecting. Let's find the one that's got a particle system. And then under collection, if we select both of those spheres, go in here, select both those spheres and then hit M, new collection, type particle lights to make a group. Click OK. You'll notice up here, now we've got our spheres in the particle lights section. So in particle lights, basically that allows us to select this, and then we'll select that collection, and then we'll be instancing this collection on our tree. Why is it not working? If you can't see your particles like there where they disappeared, but they're still selected, just drag this particle system tab in the modifier section up to above everything, and then it works. Don't know why that was happening. This never happened to me before. Yeah, and then just bring your number count down. We don't need 1,000. We just maybe need like 50. Then we'll just change the scale up so they're a bit bigger. And you can change the variation of the size. I like to vary them a little bit. Let's change it to 40 so we get less all over there. Now we tab, and if you click Z, you can go to rendered view. And oh, look at that. Now we've got this really nice looking tree covered in glowy orbs. Very nice. Okay. You might also notice that we don't have it on any of the other trees. I would just say, so let's select this and then these and make sure that's the active one. And then copy active to selected objects. And then if we move each of these, now they should also be covered in these nice orbs. So that is super nice. I'm going to select this little guy because he's a little bit overwhelmed. And we're going to duplicate that right there. Clicking these makes it a second thing, and we can just scale those down. Yeah, that looks nice. Maybe a bit too small. We'll just change that variation a bit more. Drop that to a couple less. Yeah, look at that. I'm going to Shift D and then Shift C and move one of these like over here. So we can get it in a spot that'll like make our diamond kind of pop a little bit. Apparently not. You'll notice these shadows are really harsh. Instead of just changing the lamp, I'm going to come into the world settings, this little red one right here, and click on this yellow dot and click environment texture. And I downloaded a HDR from HDR Haven, and I think the one I went with was this one, the Birchwood 4K HDR. It's available at polyhaven.com/a/birchwood. Here they have like a ton of HDRIs, textures, stuff that you can use to light your environments, and you will notice it already looks a little bit better. And then to kind of fix that lighting a little bit more, then click on the light in the outline, and then in the light settings right there, you see your radius. You can increase that radius and all the shadows will get a lot softer. And then just move it, just so get some, like, I think I like it over here. Let me just get like a nice soft shadow on that side. So increase that radius just a bit, just kind of experiment. Yeah. And that just gives us a nice, fun little look. As well, you can see a diamond starting to pop. And then just for fun, let's add this, let's Shift D, scale it down, and just hide it, like just move it out of the sight. And then select those, it's selected, then just hold Shift and then select these other two spheres. then hit that M, and then move it into the particle lights. So now you've got that second one in there. And now we'll get a couple of those on the tree, which I think looks quite nice. We need another diamond over here. Look a good shine off of that. Shift D. And let's just scale it up or down. Using Z to do this, just to bring up that pie menu, and then if you move your mouse really fast in the direction of each of these tabs, then it will give that fast switching. So now we've got kind of like our basic scene blocked out, and maybe we need a present in there. Maybe make a smaller tree. You can experiment, just have fun moving things around, trying out different combinations. And here I'm going to change my viewport. I changed to 32 so it's faster, so hopefully you caught that, probably didn't. Let's render that. So come in here, check your noise threshold, and then I like to bump this up to 0.05. The renders go just a bit faster. And then honestly, even with the glass, you probably only need 256 samples. Let's try low first. You always go as low as possible. Make sure the noise is checked. We can lower our light paths a lot, down to like 5 or 4. After 5, 4 or 5, you start losing detail on the glass. We don't want to do that. But you don't need that many bounces. We might leave reflective and caustics on. Since this is a quick render though, we'll kind of do the fast jet approximation. Throw that up to 5 as well. That should give us some faster results. And color management down here on the bottom, that's your look. Let's change that to medium high contrast. That just kind of makes your image pop just a bit more. And I think my scene is almost done. I'm going to change this from object to world. And just like that trick I showed you, Control T adds those mapping nodes. And now we can rotate our environment around and kind of experiment with the reflections that we're getting. I'm going to kind of focus on these 2 diamonds to gauge that. The more nice shiny faces we get lit up, the better. Always around 80. So now we have our basic scene. Now, just to kind of top things off, you can't have a tree with the shiny star on top or the object on top. So in here we're just going to come in and we're going to look at what we have in our extra objects. Like we got gears, extras, we've got like a simple star. Look at that. Nope, it's in our collection. Make sure you're not selected on particle lights. Make sure you're scene or your scene collection. I'm just going to do scene collection. And then Shift A selected so that it doesn't appear in your particle system. So yeah, extras, simple star. GZ, just so we can see it. Okay. What I'm going to do just to get this nice star look is I'm going to go into edge selection mode, clicking this button up here, Shift Alt, and then select that edge there, and then select that other edge. And then if we come up here to options, we click auto merge, and if we scale on the Z axis and then hit 0, then it will automatically merge those. And now they're all connected. We can ensure that by merging, and yeah, we're good. So I'm gonna apply any scale that we have there and add a bevel modifier just to kind of soften those things up. I'm gonna hold Shift and kind of pull it out just so that it's less intense. Just kind of soften those edges up, yeah. And then shade it smooth. Ooh, look at that. Got a nice star. Alright, rotate it on the X-axis, 90 degrees, enter, and then rotate on the Z-axis. My eyes a little bit skewed. Bring it down a bit. I'm just going to rotate it visually to match the view. And I'm just going to kind of pull it till it's right where the tree is. Kind of place it. I'm going to scale that down a lot. G, C, G, Y, X. I don't think all of our trees need it, but our trees do need something on top. So let's see how that looks. I think I want this star to be that gold color, that beautiful gold. So we're going to come over here. We're just going to snag that gold color. And ooh, look at that. That looks good. Now I'm going to go back into view and just kind of like reframe my camera a little bit so that everything's inside of the image. And look at that. We've got this super cool looking scene, but it's all about the exploration and the fun. To render this out, we're going to click render and render image, and you should get a final image fairly quickly out of here. Yeah, there's your Christmas render. Let's just go up here to image, save. I'm just going to save it to my desktop, and then we're just going to call this your first Christmas render. Enter again to save that, and don't forget to save your blend file as well. So we're going to do 12_25_2021. Enter. Christmas. Sweet. That was a fun render. I hope you enjoyed making yours. I'd love to see them. Again, tag me on Instagram, Owen Jenkins Design. I'll repost them in my story. So excited to see what you guys make. Get out of here, go spend some time with your families, and enjoy the holidays. I actually think that the mic works really well. I think I'm going to keep it right there. This is a good setup. My lighting might get better as we go. I'm getting lights for Christmas, so yeah. This lighting setup is pretty fake. There's a flashlight right there that's giving me my rim light. There's a light on the ceiling in the hallway that's giving me light right here. And my monitor and my phone are the fake aperture light and the cool background. So I think it was a really great setup. But I can't wait to get some lights and make a more professional setup. Anyways, I'll get out of your hair. Have a great holiday.